tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there that I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, you know, just told saying I just needed a break right there.
All right. Well, you're gonna have all the rest you can get. AR-15, unfortunately for you. We are gonna talk about my guy AR-15 right now, and he clearly just got benched. The news just broke not too long ago. So, we still got to get the graphics and all that going. But, we're going to go ahead with the topic right now, which is, did the Colts give up on AR-15 too early? And Zach, the mic is yours.
Yeah, well, so I'll start off by saying this. I don't necessarily know if this move is the Colts giving up on Anthony Richardson. I still think he's going to get on the field sooner rather than later. I don't really know how long this Joe Flacco era is going to last, but I will say I do think this move was the right one, and I'll explain why. And I'll start off by saying this. When the Colts drafted Anthony Richardson in the top 5, I feel like we all knew just how risky of a pick it was, but we thought it was the right move because when you're drafting in the top 5 and you want to hit a home run with that pick, sometimes it's the riskier moves that you have to make. And the thing about Anthony Richardson that's so complex is even dating back to his high school career, this guy hasn't played a ton of football. He suffered a ton of injuries in high school. And then he was only the starter at the University of Florida for 1 year, and the Gators went 6-6. And his numbers didn't necessarily jump off the charts. But the one thing that has always been so appealing with him is his physical attributes. There have even been a couple throws this season and on Sunday that he makes, and you just say to yourself, wow, there aren't really a ton of other guys in the league that are capable of doing that. And the thing about Richardson that's so crazy to me, and I understand that this was a small sample size, but I thought in the 4 games that he played in last year, he looked much better than I could have expected. I remember saying going into last year, this guy should probably just sit on the bench for a year or two, really develop, learn the game, and then kind of use that Packers model, which I've been critical of in the past. But I think in the right situation, it could work, and I thought that's something that Indianapolis could have applied here. But there's no doubt about it. Richardson has regressed so far this year. And I understand that when you draft a guy like him, you know that there are going to be ups and downs, and you have to live with the roller coaster because you signed up for it. But Lil, I got to tell you, especially after watching his answer that you just played, I don't necessarily think this decision to bench him is necessarily all performance based. You're a starting quarterback. Even if you really were tired, you can't go up to the podium and give an answer like that. I know you mentioned Kyler in that playoff game against the Rams, but he just quit. He was done. He said, I'm out. Anthony Richardson literally just admitted he was tired, like he was fatigued, and he tapped himself out of the game. I've never seen a starting quarterback do that, and I guarantee you that there are just a lot of people in that building, a lot of people in that locker room that just don't look at him the same way after he answered that question like that. After he did that, you're the starting quarterback. Like, I remember the first thing that came to mind when I saw that is when Patrick Mahomes injured his ankle in that playoff game against the Jaguars, and he's literally on the sideline, and Andy Reid is saying, like, bro, you got to go to the locker room and get some x-rays. You're not coming back into this game. And Mahomes was just like, nah, he was cussing him out. I'm coming back in. I'm coming back in. I'm coming back in. And he eventually ended up getting the x-rays, but that was after like 5 people were on the Chiefs sideline and literally dragged him into the x-ray room. I think about Lamar Jackson and just how much he runs around each and every time he takes the field. And although he's had some playoff failures, although he's not the perfect player, you never question his effort and how badly he wants it. I don't know how you could just watch that answer that he just gave and think, yeah, this is a guy that's going all out and is trying to get better, because he's not. And that, for me, is just a huge competitive red flag. And I'm sure a lot of people in the Colts organization feel the same way. Like, Will, I'm telling you, I don't think Anthony Richardson got benched because he was playing poorly. That has something to do with it. But I think he got benched for that answer right there. You can't, that's unacceptable. You can't take yourself out of the game because you're tired and then you admit it just nonchalantly, like nothing even happened. That's just a bad look. And I do think he deserved to get benched because we've seen plenty of evidence. This Colts offense is just better with Joe Flacco. And I understand that when you drafted a guy like Richardson, there were going to be a lot of ups, there were going to be a lot of downs, and you had to live with it. But one thing that we at least thought was, okay, this is a good character guy. This is a guy you want to build your team around that is a good person, and he wants to get better. But I don't know how you could look at that situation the same after watching that answer. So that's my opinion. I think after the way he answered that question, the Colts had no choice but to make this move.
Yeah, I think they moved on a little bit too soon, and I know I've been vocal on and off the air about subbing him out of there and throwing Joe Flacco in there. And sometimes I do get mixed emotions when talking football. Sometimes it's emotion that I, go off of when I make certain comments. And sometimes it's, actual thinking about things and going through everything and all the dynamics, right? So there's a conflict of interest there sometimes. But look, I think they moved on a little bit too soon. And granted, I don't think they're done with him like as far as a career rise, but I'm talking about this year, right? And look, I get it. It wasn't a good performance at all. In the last game in particular, I mean the whole year, but the last game, if you want to just pick up there, he went 2 for 15 with an interception heading into halftime against the Texans, and he hasn't been able all year long to make the routine NFL throws that's needed to be a successful quarterback in the NFL, right? But I think how you improve in those areas is just by getting more reps in, and more development with reps, right? Because you talked about him only playing 10 NFL games, 13 games in Florida. And look, Brock Purdy, take a guy like him that's successful already, won a lot of games, 48 games he started in Iowa State, right? So he's able to process things at a quicker pace because he has a lot more experience and game experience, right? You take a guy like Trey Lance, who the 49ers traded up to get, he barely played in college football, if any college football, really. He barely played any. And clearly he struggled and the patience level wasn't there. And we all know what happened after that. He's on somebody's bench right now, the Cowboys bench, to be exact. I still believe he is, right? If they didn't cut him, right? But my point being is that to fix the issue of reps, right, or experience and development is not by benching somebody, right? I think you could start off your career on the bench, right? That's different when you're a rookie and you're sitting on the bench to learn. But right now, what he's getting is mental reps. He's not getting physical reps. He's not getting on the field reps. That's what he needs, not mental reps. Last year he played. He didn't play throughout the whole year. He got a shoulder injury and was out for the majority of the year. That was the redshirt year, right? We don't need no more mental reps. What we need right now is in-game reps because he barely has NFL experience and football experience at that. He's not going to get that being on the bench. And I understand Joe Flacco gives you the best opportunity right now to win football games, but you're kind of married and boxed into two things right now. Do we focus on development or do we focus on winning games? And at that, how much games are you going to win, really? Are you going to win a Super Bowl? No, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco at this stage of his career. Now, he can still play, and he can still potentially win you a playoff game in Shane Steichen's offense. But at the end of the day, what's the reward in that? You won a playoff game. Woohoo! All right. You didn't win the championship, right? And now you got to come back to where you left off, which is development. So I do believe that, he has the physical attributes, and we know that. But he needs to learn how to make the routine throws, and he's not going to be able to learn that just by sitting on the bench. He needs those reps, and unfortunately, he's not going to get it this year, it looks like.
And dude, I see what you're saying. It all makes sense. But again, I just don't know how anyone could watch that clip that we just watched. You could even play it again if you want.
Yeah.
But
I'll
like,
play
how
it
do you?
again.
Go ahead. Let's watch this again.
Let's go.
Can you explain just you subbing out when you hurt, when you injured, when tired?
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, this whole saying I just needed a break right there.
Like, as the starting quarterback, you're supposed to be the leader of the locker room. You're supposed to be the guy that everyone wants to go to war with each and every week. I don't think he got benched entirely because of his performance. Did it have something to do with it? Yes. But I think he got benched for the way he answered that question and the way he was acting. You cannot pull yourself out of the game for being tired. I don't care where you were drafted. I don't care how much the team has invested in you. If you do that, they're guaranteed people in the locker room, people in the building that have just lost complete faith in you. I think that's why he got benched. I don't think it was entirely all because of his performance. I understand he went 2 of 15 in the first half, but I thought he played better than his stat line. He made a couple nice throws that his receivers couldn't help him on. But you pull off those shenanigans, that for me is just an all-time competitive red flag that you just can't happen. You can't have that.
I mean, the timing is off, obviously. You lost the game. You didn't play well. You went 2 for 15 in the first half of the game. You lost the game. So to have that, if they won, I don't think he would get benched for making a comment like that if they won the game. Obviously, everything is a factor there, right? So not only the speech, but the fact that he didn't play well, the fact that they lost, the fact that he didn't play well throughout the whole year. You combine all those, things and examples, and of course, like it adds up to you potentially getting benched. But Zach, I want to go and say this take, right? Because I was initially going to go here for my take for 99, but I came up with something else, last second. So I'm going to go here and empty the clip here, right? Because I think it's warranted with this topic. This topic actually was going to be the center of that take anyway, so we might as well get into it. I think right now what we see in the NFL is less patience when it comes to draft pick investments, but more patience when it comes to large contract investments, right? Now, let me explain exactly what I mean here. The Colts invested a fourth pick overall in AR-15, right? And what we see now is Flacco, getting the opportunity, because in the few games that we saw Flacco in for AR-15, he played well. So instead of prioritizing the future, which is tied to the development of AR-15, they are trying to win games. So they're rocking with Joe Flacco. They just made the decision today, right? Now, you look at Bryce Young, a conversation we had early in the year. Number 1 overall pick. He's not winning games. He's 0-2, right? 0-2, right? You can still mathematically make the playoffs, right? But he's not playing well. We're going to go Andy Dalton and try to win games. But you look at the guys that have significant contracts. They are also investments, okay? Don't get it twisted. Everything is an investment, right? The high pick, the contract. But when you look at the contract, Deshaun Watson, okay, we're going to, only win one game. We're going to lose all these amounts of games. Mathematically not eliminated, but we got ground to make up. And finally, it takes a season-ending injury for us to get and pivot to Jameis Winston. And clearly he comes in, he makes an impact. He spreads the ball around. They didn't happen won a game to help him out. Nick Chubb didn't do all that great. And guess what? They won the game. And they had to. They was forced to pivot. You look at another example, the Giants and Daniel Jones, right? Okay, well, we gave Daniel Jones a large contract, so now we still trying to see the benefits of that, and we just going to, tank games and lose games without making a decision. So I think right now what you see is teams being less patient when it comes to draft pick investments. I'm not sure if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, I think it's just simply math. Although you're investing a lot in a quarterback when you take them early, it's still a lot less than the amount of money you're investing in a guy like a Deshaun Watson or like a Daniel Jones. And I think that Cleveland situation is unique because it was literally a historic trade. They gave up a historic amount of assets. They paid Watson a historic amount of money. And I don't think like anyone in that organization had any choice when it came to benching him, because they invested literally a historic amount in Watson that the only solution was to just play him and hope it works out and just hope you could fix him. Now, the injury is definitely a blessing in disguise to me. They did look much better with Jameis Winston under center, and Deshaun Watson, as far as I'm concerned, could never play another snap under center as the Cleveland Brown quarterback, or else we already know that organization is a joke, but that would just put them in a whole new tier. With this situation, I just think, and I understand owners have a reputation of just not being patient, and sometimes they don't always do what's best for the team. They do what's best to put the most money in their pocket. But I feel like if you're Shane Steichen, you had to send a message to your locker room. Like, there are definitely people in that room that just couldn't take Anthony Richardson being the quarterback anymore, especially after those comments, especially when it's clear that Joe Flacco gives you the best chance to win. And I understand that you're most likely not going to win a championship with Joe Flacco. But when was the last time this Colts team made the playoffs? 2020? with Phillip Rivers. It's been a few years now. They haven't won a playoff game since Andrew Luck retired. Chris Ballard, their general manager, everyone talks about how he's one of the best and sharpest GMs in the league, but his seat is probably starting to heat up a bit. He has to win games. You have to produce in the NFL, and Joe Flacco right now gives them the best chance to win. And again, I don't think Richardson got benched entirely because of performance. I think it had something to do with it, but the main reason he got benched was that clip we just watched and the answer that he just gave.
Yeah, and I think, and this is my last point on this topic, is when you look at that play in particular where he came out of the game, subbed himself out, you got to realize that not everything is promised to you in the NFL. The NFL stands for not for long, right? And there's examples that show us that, right? I want to pivot back in history with Cam Newton when it came to the Super Bowl, when he made a business choice, I believe, to not jump on that fumble in the Super Bowl. And he just, he didn't jump on the ball. Like, he never was the same after that. After that game, his career was never the same. Injuries upon injuries mounted, and he became an irrelevant dinosaur in the NFL. It's not promised to no man. Every play matters, every play counts, and it's unfortunate that he made that business choice to not stay in the game but come out of the game.
So I just saw a tweet. This is from Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts for ESPN. He said, Colts team source on Richardson's demotion. We are not quitting on Anthony. That will be the story, but that is not the case. They want Richardson to take a step back, take a break from the pressures of the job, and try to grow during this time. And when I hear that, it makes sense, because after watching that clip, that seems like a guy that has a lot of growing to do, which is unfortunate for the Colts, because when you draft a guy that high, you don't think he has to grow as a person, but it's clear that he does after watching that performance on Sunday.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.